Chapter 2. The three of them walked quietly along as Ada led the way. Each was deeply engrossed in her thoughts. Ada's house was situated in an estate not too far from Mama Brenda's place. The distance was about a 15-minute walk apart. Ada lived with her parents and her three brothers. She was their first child and only daughter. Her father was hardly ever around because of the nature of his job. He was a top businessman, a successful one at that. He was into the cement business and had really made a good fortune from it. This was what informed their decision to relocate to Shagamu, a peaceful town in Ogun State. As they got to the gate of Majolagbe Estate, they were restrained and questioned by the security guard who manned the gate. "How are you, Ada? Are these your friends?" the man asked with a suspicious grin. "Yes, they are. They are on a visit to my house," Ada replied while trying to contain her anxiety. "Okay, you can go in. My greetings to Mommy, oh," the man added. "All right, sir," Ada said hurriedly as she went past him while Tino and Debbie followed. Tino and Debbie looked around as they went past several buildings. The houses were similar to one another and well built with a nicely carved architectural design. One could tell they were born out of good talent and creativity. There was a calm ambience and serenity in the estate too. They both seemed impressed by what they saw. "We're almost at my place," Ada said as they approached a brown building which had a similar design to the rest of the houses they had come across. "Oh my God! That is my mother waiting at the door!" Ada suddenly exclaimed as she cringed in fear. Tina and Debbie looked closely to confirm what Ada said. They could sight a woman dressed in a white nurse tunic from afar. Ada began to walk slowly. She dragged her feet as though they were tied to a large mass of objects. They finally got to the doorstep of the house where her mother stood. "Where are you coming from, Ada?" Mrs. Nwosu asked in a low voice, trying to suppress the provocation caused by Ada's actions. Mrs. Nwosu was fair in complexion and had a bit of a masculine figure. She has a boyly appearance. Although there seemed to be a form of mildness in her, she looked like a disciplinarian. "Good afternoon, ma," Tino and Deborah echoed together. They curtsied to greet Mrs. Nwosu, who obviously didn't have their time. Mrs. Nwosu replied to them by gesturing with her hand, while her eyes were still fixed on Ada. She reinforced, determined to obtain an explanation from Ada for the delay. Her voice became louder this time, and she seemed to be running out of patience. There was anger in her eyes too. "I was delayed at Mama Brenda's restaurant. I am sorry, Ada stammered. "Our balances were joined together and we have been making several attempts to split it, ma," Tino added respectfully. She had gathered the courage to speak after Ada's explanation and earnestly hoped it didn't bounce back with a negative repercussion. Mrs. Nwosu looked on. She wanted a more convincing explanation. "We followed her here to explain what happened, ma," Debbie added. You could almost see she guided her alongside to put her words together. "So you knew you had done something wrong. That is why you have brought your friends to come and pacify me," Mrs. Nwosu replied half jokingly. "No, Mommy, that was what happened. I am very sorry. It won't happen again." Tino and Debbie noticed Mrs. Nwosu's mood was livelier, so they decided to plead on Ada's behalf. "She's sorry, ma. She won't repeat it next time," they both said harmoniously. "Anyways, I don't have time for you now. I'm almost late for work. If not for your friends, you won't enter this house today. Where's my food?" Ada quickly handed over the plate of jollof rice to her mother. "I'll be back soon. Be well behaved," Mrs. Nwosu cautioned, as she collected her food and hurriedly left for her point of duty. "Thank you, ma," the three of them echoed together with relief. Ada turned to Debbie and Tino and said, "Thank you. You both saved my day. I am grateful." She clapped her hands in appreciation. "You are most welcome, Ada," Debbie said, smiling. "It's a pleasure to be of help to you," Tino added. "How do you not get your balances?" Ada asked, showing concern for Debbie and Tino. "I would suggest Tino take the 500 naira notes with her since she mentioned earlier that she needed her balance for transport fare. My house is just a short distance from here," Debbie said. "We would then devise a way to collect it some other time," Debbie continued. "That would be a great idea," Tino said, unable to hide her joy. "I would so much appreciate it if that can be done," Tino added. "How will you then make the balances available to us?" Ada asked Tino, a bit confused. "Well, I study at the public library every Saturday. I don't know if you both can keep it a date with me next Saturday. What do you think?" That's not a bad idea at all. I will definitely make it a date, Ada said, pleased with the suggestion. I will try to make it a date. I hope I won't have any reason to change my plans, Tino said. Is that a deal? Debbie asked to confirm their stance. Tino and Ada responded. At that moment, they felt a genuine connection. It was as though they had known one another before that day. It might be right to say their friendship bond came to be at that moment. Can I see you off at the gate? Ada inquired. Please do, Tino responded. They walked to the gate and met the security guard Baba Isaka at the security post again. Ada, are your friends already leaving? Baba Isaka asked. He looked unduly curious about them. Yes, sir. They are on their way home, Ada replied as they quickly went out of the gate. Okay, bye-bye, yo, he said to them as he watched Ada and her friends leave the estate. Debbie quietly shut the door behind her as she stepped into the sitting room. She was startled by her mother's voice. Welcome, Debbie. You had a quite long study today. How was the reading? Debbie turned back and saw her mother on the couch reading a newspaper. Mrs. Smith peeped at her daughter through the pair of glasses perching on her nose. She adjusted it with her finger, pushing it closer to her eyes, while she waited patiently for Debbie's response. Debbie's mind was cluttered with several thoughts. She didn't know what to say. She stood speechless for a while before she was able to convey her thoughts. Good afternoon, Mommy. I had an expansive reading today. It was great, Debbie said as she slowly headed to her room. I hope you didn't sleep off at the library, Mrs. Smith pressed on. She looked at Debbie with scrutiny as she watched her go into her room. No, Mom, I didn't, Debbie replied. Tino's heart pounded as she approached her sister's fashion store. Tinoke, also referred to as Tino, had lived with her elder sister Morenike for some months now. She had gladly opted to live with her after her mother asked her to choose between that or getting a blue-collar job to keep her hands busy after passing her whole levels and was yet to write her university entrance examination. Her sister, Morenike, had complained to their mother that she needed a helping hand with her newborn child. Tino had always held her sister in high esteem. She always admired all the elegant and classy dresses her sister wore whenever she came visiting them in Lagos. Tino would imagine herself in them and relished the thought of wearing such someday. Sister Morenike, as she was fondly called, was good at what she did. She studied fashion design at Yaba College of Technology, Lagos, a renowned polytechnic in the country. As Tino got to the front of the fashion store, she said something unusual had happened. She slid the glass door open and entered. She saw her sister at the sewing machine making a drawing to some satin material. They both exchanged a glance, and then her sister continued her sewing. From the look on her sister's face, it was evident to Tino that all was not well. Good afternoon, sis, Tino greeted her. Welcome, Tino, Sister Morenike replied with her eyes still fixed on the satin material on the machine. How is it going, sis? Tino asked. Miss Amor was here, her sister replied. Tino's heart skipped on hearing Miss Amor name. She took a quick look around the store to see if she could sight Miss Amor dress to know if she had collected it. Hanging on the rack in a plastic garment bag was Miss Amor dress. Tino's countenance fell. Miss Amor was very affluent. She was a prosperous jeweler, a fashion slayer, and a notorious drama queen. She commanded a lot of attention and respect from everyone around, not only because of her wealthy status, but because of her superfluous appearance and personality. She had a set of thick lips, which were permanently glossed with a flashy red lipstick, making them even more prominent, and could almost serve as illumination in the dark. Her neck was always adorned with an enormous glittery necklace, which usually cast a glow in her brightly toned skin. Her bulging eyeballs were perpetually exaggerated with several layers of black eyeliner, and her eyebrows were like artwork, neatly trimmed to suit the shape of her face. Miss Amor had always thought too highly of herself. She walked with an arrogant gait and often put on a puffy look. Tino was not a fan of hers. Everything about her seemed too over the top for Tino. What did she say? Tino finally asked. She ranted as usual and left in anger, Miss Morenike said nonchalantly. She must have had enough of the troublesome miss. Tino's mind kept wandering around Miss Amor dress. How do we give this dress the touch she demanded? How do we get it across to her without creating a scene? Tino thought to herself. I'll work on her dress during the week and find a way to get her across to her. I hope she accepts it this time, Sister Morenike said. But what took you so long, Tino? You came a bit late, she queried. You are right, sis. Tinu narrated all the experiences she had at the market, Mama Brenda's place, and lastly at Ada's house. You mean you went through all that, Tinu? Her sister asked with pity. You will need to take some time off to rest. You can't continue working after such rigorous activities. I'm fine, sis. Thanks for your concern, Tinu replied, smiling. She was visibly pleased with the show of affection. You know what, sis? I'm thinking of delivering Miss Omogorella's dress myself during the week. You? Her sister giggled. Do you think you can manage the situation well? Trust me, sis, I got this, Tinu assured. Okay, you can give it a try. I pray everything goes well, Samarenke replied. Tinu stared at the gigantic gate in front of Miss Omogorella's house. The thought of how she would execute her task occupied her mind. She felt very nervous. She knocked on the gate to get the attention of the security guard inside the compound. A man peeked through the peephole and unlocked the gate's latch after some minutes. Who are you and what do you want? The man asked, his voice tone reflecting his native dialect. He took a close look at Tinu, hoping to find a clue about her intentions and the reason for her visit. I want to see Miss Omogorella, Tinu said. You mean Madame Gori? Yes, Madame Gori, Tinu answered after realizing he was referring to Miss Omogorella's abbreviated name. Shey she know say you dey come and wetin be your name? The man asked in pidgin English. My name is Tinu and I want to deliver the dress she sold at Morenike's fashion house last week. Okay, wait, I dey come. He locked the gate and went inside for a while before returning. You can come inside, the man said after opening the gate for Tinu. Tinu felt a little relieved but was still nervous. Wait here, make I tell madam say you don dey around, the man said to Tinu as he got to the lobby. She waited patiently enjoying the coolness of the air conditioning system. After some minutes, Miss Omogorella entered the room. Tinu had skipped in fear immediately when she saw her. She quickly stood up and curtsied to greet her. How may I help you? Miss Omogorella grimaced. My name is Tinu and I have brought your dress. The dress is sold with Morenike fashion store. Tinu was very careful with her choice of words. Being very cautious with words was of utmost importance when it came to Miss Omogorella. She could be easily offended and tend to see most things as insults. I thought I told your sister that I'm no more interested in the dress. Yes, you did, ma. So what are you doing here? Miss Omogorella snapped at Tinu. Please take that dress back to her, Miss Omogorella said and immediately turned to take her leave. Tinu hurriedly unpacked the dress from the bag and held onto its shoulder pad as the dress swayed in the air. She has work on it, ma, Tinu retorted. Miss Omogorella looked back in annoyance. She looked elated and surprised as she sighted the dress in Tinu's hand. She came closer to have a better view of it. Tinu held tight to the dress as though it was a shield and her life depended on it. Miss Omogorella examined the dress closely, feeling its texture and designs with her hand. She was obviously in awe of the dress. Then she smiled hugely. Wow, this is beautiful, she exclaimed. She took the dress from Tinu and kept on admiring it all over. Tinu stood and watched her happy display. She had never seen her in that mood before. Tinu smiled and enjoyed every bit of the moment. Tell your sister I will send her the balance later. Okay, ma, Tinu answered, as she quickly comported herself with all seriousness. Miss Omogorella walked away holding her new dress like a baby. How did it go, Tinu? Sister Morenike asked as Tinu entered the fashion store. Very well, sis, Tinu answered smiling. She loved the dress and promised to send you the balance of the money to your account. She did? That's really surprising. How did you convince her? Sister Morenike questioned, visibly surprised. Leave that to me, sis. I'm glad she at least collected it, Tinu sighed. Well done, Tinu. That was a good one. Sister Morenike patted her sister on the back and cuddled her to her side. Tinu laughed and felt very fulfilled. The end of chapter 2.